Hello! By now, hopefully you've played some actual multiplayer games of Tetrio and noticed that those grey garbage lines are some annoying buggers. Fear not, because here I'm going to explain how to deal with them by explaining the basics of downstacking. Firstly, upstacking is stacking up, and downstacking is clearing lines to stack down. Now just for this video, I'm going to be color coding the stack to be green and the garbage holes to be grey. Those grey garbage holes are the hard part to clear through, and it's the only real reason why downstacking is really difficult. So to get to this first garbage hole, we need to fill in this block here. The problem is that there are 3 layers of our stack that are in the way, and so the solution would be to clear those 3 lines, and now we can access this hole here, and simply just clear it. This example is very similar. Over here we have 2 layers that we need to get rid of to access this hole here. So if we need to fill in these 4 blocks here, we should put the O piece here and then the I piece here. And now we can access this hole there. So this example is the same as last time, except instead of the O piece that we had before, we now have a Z piece. So same thing, we need to clear these 4 blocks here. And so I'm going to put the Z piece here to fill in these first 2, and then the I piece here to fill in those last 2. But what's the problem here? I can't access this block because the Z piece that we place is blocking off that hole. So from the very start, this Z piece that we placed over here actually blocks off the entryway to get to this garbage hole in the future. And so what to learn from this is stacking over your garbage hole will require you to clear more lines. So let's say we put the Z piece here. We're actually going to have to clear 3 layers instead of the 2 that we originally wanted to. If for some reason we stacked up like this, we have 6 blocks on top of our garbage hole, we would have to fill in this entire area in order to finally reach this hole. So this means we should try avoid stacking over the well. To get to this garbage hole here, the column above the garbage hole has to be the lowest point of the stack. So these 3 columns are currently the lowest part of the stack. Next would be this one, next would be these, and then finally these 3 columns would be the highest point of our stack. As I said in the beginning, to reach this garbage hole, we need to have the column above it be the lowest point of the stack. And so to do that, we need to raise these 4 columns here because they are currently lower than this column here. So what I'm going to do is place this S and Z piece here. So now the lowest point of the stack are these 5 columns, and the top part of the stack are these 4 columns. So this column here is now the lowest part of our stack. So after clearing these lines on the well, we can now access this garbage hole. On this board, the garbage hole is here, and the column on top of that garbage hole is right here. So to reach this garbage hole, we need to make the column on top of it the lowest part of our stack. Currently, it's at the highest point of our stack, and so to make it the lowest part of our stack, we need to raise these 6 columns to at least the level that it's on. If these 6 columns here are raised to the same point that this column is also raised to, then this column will at least be the lowest point of our stack as well. So after placing these pieces, the lowest part of our stack are these columns, the second highest is this one, and the top is this one. And after that, we can clear this Tetris and we can reach this garbage hole. Now this one's a little bit trickier. To get to this first garbage hole, we need to make the column on top of it the lowest part of our stack. And currently it's at the top of our stack. This is the lowest part of our stack here. So we're going to raise it up by placing this L piece over here and then clearing this triple. And so now we can access this garbage hole here. And that's all well and good, but with the orange piece that we placed earlier, we've blocked the second garbage hole here. So with a bit of foresight, we could have avoided that from the very beginning. By placing the L piece here, the top of our stack is on top of a garbage hole, so we should try to avoid that. Instead, if we put the T piece here, the top of our stack would be on this column, which is not over any garbage hole, so this is a lot safer. And so if we clear the triple again, you'll notice that both of these garbage holes are actually available to be cleared. If you look at something like this and you're like, how can you make the top of your stack not go any garbage holes? Because there are so many garbage holes, you're bound to make the top of your stack go in some of them. Well, you want to prioritize the garbage holes that are closer to the top than the ones below it. So I'd be a lot more comfortable having my stack be on this side than this side, because this side covers the garbage holes that I need to get to now, but this side covers the garbage holes that I'm only going to get to later. Downstacking is also about minimizing the amount of cleanup that you're going to have to do after. And so if we want to get to this first line here, you'll notice that no matter what piece you use to clear this garbage hole, you're always going to be stacking over the garbage holes underneath it. And comparing this L piece versus this C piece, which one should we use to clear the line? Well, if we use the L piece, we're only going to add 1 extra layer that we have to get through in order to get to the garbage holes underneath it. If we use the Z piece, however, we're going to have to get through these 2 layers instead of the 1. And so the better option was to use the L piece. Another reason why I say to keep the stack height low is because if you do something like this, and then you get like 1 line of garbage, you're gonna like You're gonna need to do a lot of high duty excavation to get to this hole here, I'll tell you that much. To practice this, I'd recommend going to Tetryo Zen, setting the gravity to off and the leveling to off as usual, and then setting the cheese layer height to 8 and the cheese messiness to 50, and then just go for it. If you want a way to track your progress, you can use Jaystress's cheese raise function, but learning to clear these type of lines isn't really that important until later. If you do want to get better at these cheese lines, you really just think about it the exact same way that you'd clear 2 garbage lines. It's just that instead of thinking about how you might affect a couple garbage lines, you have to think about how you might affect a lot more garbage lines. Honestly, most of downstacking is really just thinking about how after you clear the lines, how the residue affects the garbage holes underneath it, and using look ahead to get the best possible solution. With cheese race, this hashtag statistic is what you want to be looking at, and if you can clear 100 lines by using less than 300 blocks, that's what's considered a good cheese run. And if you get less than 350, I'd call that decent. And that's it. Thanks.